Today I am joined by the lovely Sheela Masand. I hope I've pronounced that correctly.
Yeah,
Good.
perfect.
And it's really interesting because I haven't known Sheila very long at all. We are both involved in a project called Heartfelt Presence. Um, and we are we basically show up in a Zoom room, and if anybody needs any free coaching, they can pop into that Zoom room and explore with us, I guess.
Mm.
And Sheila has either been on before or after me, so we kind of ended up chatting in the sort of handover phase, I guess. And it was only last week, wasn't it, that
Yeah.
we were chatting about health, and it was something that I hadn't, I hadn't had any understanding from Sheila of having had any health challenges. And we got chatting about health because, I'm kind of interested in all that stuff. And we had such an amazing conversation. I wish I'd recorded it, but of course I hadn't. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
bringing her back to share some of what she's seen, I guess, on her journey with multiple autoimmune conditions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just wonder to begin with whether you might just talk a little bit about those conditions and sort of, what you've been diagnosed with,
Mm.
what your experience was, when that diagnosis kind of happened, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you say, that I mean, it's great to be here, and yeah, it's great to have that conversation last week because I had no idea when you mentioned your other business. That's how
Yeah.
we got into it's like, what other business? I didn't know you did anything else but coaching, and so that took us down the avenue of talking about health. And I think I've had, I've had an interest in health for years and years and years. And partially, and I suppose mainly, if I think about it, because physically, physical health has been something that I've been challenged with. But it's always been that, when you go to the doctors or you go somewhere and they say, have you had any serious illnesses? I always say, no.
Yeah.
Have you had any operations? No. And yet, it feels like that health is it's played a big role in my life. So for me, it's been chronic type illnesses.
Yeah.
And as some people call mystery illnesses, the ones that you have every test under the sun for, and the doctor still can't say it's this or it's that, and we can help you with that. It's usually, um, hmm, okay, well, that's good. Okay, then, well, we'll just see you in a year then or something. It's like, and all the symptoms and all that, all the discomfort and the what about that? Well, yeah, well, maybe try this and we'll sit and let us know in a year. And it's like, okay, that's not really very helpful to me. So it's been and also it's not only sort of the allopathic traditional medicine route. That's happened to me quite a few times with alternative type therapies too. Like that, people say, oh yeah, I've helped people with that before, and it's definitely 100%. And I trot along and pay my money and have the treatment,
Yeah.
and it's like, didn't do it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Why am I so different?
yeah, yeah, it's felt like that for a long time. It's like, how come it's always me that doesn't work for? So, to name some of the, as you said, autoimmunes, the first autoimmune that I was diagnosed with was, but when I was 17, was psoriasis. Um, First person in my family to have it, and was told it was hereditary, but nobody else had it. And then my sister, actually, that's not true. My sister was diagnosed with arthritic psoriasis, and that was like, oh, okay, so there is a hereditary thing. What happened was my dad came out with it when he was much, much older, so it clearly came from his side of the family. It doesn't matter where it comes from. But that was a funny one. It suddenly sprouted all over my body, age 17. And
Wow.
then age 18, most of it disappeared. Still got remnants of it, and it's still there, but most of it, I was covered head to toe for a year, and then it, very strange. And then later on in life, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, which with me being so slim was, are you sure it's hypothyroidism? Because there's usually people that have extra weight. And
Right.
no, the symptoms are very similar for hypo and hyper.
Yeah.
And then later on in life, then I suppose the most serious of diagnoses was Crohn's disease, which is also classed as it's an inflammatory bowel disease, also classed as autoimmune. So these autoimmune diseases are very mysterious. People have such an array of symptoms, and then there's a lot now online. You can read so much about so many different types of people that say they're supposedly you can't heal autoimmune diseases. You can go into remission. I don't know. It's all terminology, isn't it? Some people say they don't have any symptoms anymore, and so I've always been very curious about how people do cure themselves or go into remission and have these healings of these supposedly non-curable diseases. So I've because I've had sort of a history with it, it's been like fascinated with it, and at the beginning with psoriasis I did go down the doctor route and did all the things they suggested, because I was young and I didn't know any different particularly. And I guess I just wasn't that interested. It was just like, heal me now and get me sorted. And because it went away a lot, it was like, okay, that's done. But then as I got older and was diagnosed with the thyroid symptoms are not nice. And it's this idea of being on medication for the rest of my life. I just started to not feel like a good idea. The more that I looked into it, the more that I read, it was like, not long-term medication is not a good idea. There were so many side effects, and I started learning about toxins and your liver and the build-up and it just more information, more learning, just started to uncover the myriad of places that I didn't want to really go to, and of course the chronic illness becomes the chronic long-term medication. I just didn't, for me personally, it just didn't look like a rosy picture. And then with the Crohn's disease, I had some really nasty flares. When I was first diagnosed, it wasn't so bad, but then a couple of years in, I had some really nasty flares, and it made me look in, and then they wanted to put me on stronger medication. So I did take some tablets. Then they wanted to put me on the immune suppressant. Well, for me, somehow that just didn't make sense. It just was like, I don't want to suppress my immune system. I kind of understand what you're saying. It looks like my body's attacking myself in your explanation, but it didn't sit right with me. It just didn't sit right. And then I came across somebody who was talking about there's no such thing as autoimmune disease. And then I started looking. So I've just been on this journey of exploration, trying to stay as open as I can, and trying to understand what's going on, and wanting to heal my body in the most natural way possible. And so I have not been on the immune suppressants, and I have followed some different practices that have been helpful. But the most important thing that I've learned in the last few years is how much our mental state of mind affects the physical. And I mean, probably over the last 15 years, that's become more and more obvious to me. But what wasn't so obvious until the last few years really was this, I suppose, the spiritual nature. I don't know if that's a bit woo-woo for some people, but the spiritual nature of us is, and having I suppose, more of an understanding, more of a relationship. That's not the right word, but just looking in that direction towards beyond the physical body, beyond the physical that I'm trying to heal through good nutrition and homeopathy and acupuncture and yoga and Pilates and all the things that I've chosen to do on the physical plane. I'm not, all that's great, right? Is like keeping my diet clean and all those. I think that's really helpful for this physical vehicle. And what's become really, really clear to me is it's beyond, it's the physical symptoms are the last thing that we kind of have notice of, if you like. I love something that Dr. Bill Pettit talks about, that he came up with at Viva last year, which is an event that I co-organised in Spain. This idea of love letters. So our symptoms, he used to call them alarm bells, And then just as he was sitting and talking, he said, actually, I really like the term love letters. So this idea that our symptoms are love letters that are waking us up or giving us some information about, we're looking in the wrong direction when we're trying to work it out, trying to figure it out, trying to, which is how I've been. Oh my God, this symptom, I need to, what did I eat? Oh, I ate that yesterday. I must not eat that tomorrow. I must remember not to eat that again. And, so this busy, I love what he says as well. He says that we're the only creatures that when we're in trouble, we speed up, like we go faster.
Yeah,
Animals like just slow down and have a think about what they want to do next. We just don't have any I think we don't have any respect, or maybe it's just ignorance for it was for me. Just don't have respect for the idea of quietening down and going slower and listening and
value,
valuing the like body wisdom, like listening. What does my body actually want right now? Not what do I think I should be doing, but what does my body actually want right now?
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. I was
Yeah.
having a conversation with a lady, Sarah Tyers, which is one of these conversations that would have been out just before this one. And yeah, that came up quite a lot in her cancer journey of just, like, what do I need right now in this moment? And that will change moment to moment. So what felt good yesterday isn't necessarily what your body wants today.
Yeah. And yet that's not commonplace, is it really? I mean, when I was looking for help, when it started with this really bad flare with the Crohn's disease, I was reading everything online. I was looking for people that had helped themselves with flares, that had cured themselves. And and there's plenty of people out there that have, but they've all got different ways of how they did it. And it's funny in that, I suppose, that state of mind of being in physical pain and fear, fear that this idea of Crohn's disease, if it goes the wrong direction, it's pretty serious. So it's like, so I'm desperately looking for something that makes sense to me, that I feel like I could follow. So I wanted to follow what somebody else had done. So there's me not listening to my own body wisdom. I don't, to be fair, I bought the book and I listened to this and I did that, and I followed a lot of what was in her book and the person that I chose, and it seemed to help. Now, in hindsight, I think when I look back, I think I just had a bloody good rest, to be honest. Gave my system a rest, and I just rested, and because there was nothing else to do.
But it's also, isn't it also that kind of thing? Because I've done this too, isn't it? It's almost that, I found something that is going to help.
Yes, true.
This might help, and there's almost like that in itself stops your search for a moment, for however long. Instead of being in your head going, this is really bad, I need to find something to fix me, and this is what am I going to do, and how am I going to sort this out? If you find something that you can try, it's like there's the gap, there's the space for your mind to settle a little bit. Settling, the physiological response for your body is that it too can start to repair and heal.
That's so true. Yes, so with hindsight, it looks like the thing it's like you've found the thing, but it's actually, as you say, it's more that the mind says, I don't have to keep looking and stay busy. This is it. I've decided on this one. This is where I'm going. I'm going to follow everything she says. I'm going to buy this and buy that and not eat this and not eat that and do the enemas and do all the things that she's telling me to do. I'm going to try it all. And so, yes, it's hopeful. Calling these hopeful conversations, and there was hope. It's like hope. She got better doing all this. So if I do all this, now there's hope. Whereas with the doctors, it was pretty much, well, just take this medicine. I mean, there's hope in the terms of this will calm your system down. But for me, I'm still, I'm still an advocate for is I'm looking long term. It's like what's going to give me the long term, not just put a plaster on for now and have to take this medication forever. Just what I don't want to, I don't want to be damaging all my other organs while I'm trying to heal this one. So So that was what I was looking for, and still, you know, still that is my direction of travel, if you like, is thinking long term, you know, about keeping the environment clean, and this idea of settle, you know, like the snow globe.
Yeah.
Like when I'm looking for, and while I'm feeling uncomfortable or I'm in pain, I'm shaking it. So when I find it, it's like everything starts calming down, and then the body's got time and space to do its work without being interfered with by this chronic stress of trying to find the answer. But I didn't realize that at the time, and
No,
I still fall into it now, you know. I still will fall into that for sure. It's not
same.
like I'm cured of it, but it's really good to know, right? It's really good when we do remember. It's like, oh, I'm doing it again.
Yeah.
Wow, just settle down, quieten down, slow down, stop it. You know, just as you so rightly said, the gap, you know, the space for our inner guidance to be heard, because it's always there, right? It's always there. It's just whether we can hear it or not, whether we recognize it or not, notice it, you know. It's yeah, it's a beautiful system when you know it's there.
Yeah. And it's like you know, just hearing you talk is just such a similar journey. I mean, I haven't been diagnosed with autoimmune conditions, but still those conditions that are, you know, oh, it's a process of elimination. We'll eliminate all the terrible things, and then we'll send you away because there's nothing we can do, and you've just got to get on with it. Like there's nothing wrong with you. Just go and live with it. And that, for me, the constant searching for what's going to make this be better, what's going to make this go away. I don't want it. And the sort of the realization now that in itself, that search, that, you know, I went through so many restricted diets where all I could think about, like all the time, was food. What I could eat, what I couldn't eat, what was I putting in my mouth, was that going to make my tummy hurt, you know, what was triggering my eczema, could I have this, and that constant noise. But when I just relaxed a bit, and it's really hard to say it, isn't it, because when you're in pain and you want answers and you want to find the solution, it's so tempting to just go into your intellect and dig around and try and work it out and figure out what it is out there that's making you suffer. But I think you said it so beautifully. It's like, for me, there was a huge missing piece. I'd done everything that you'd done, like, you know, all the physical health stuff, all the physical things I could do, I'd done, but there was still something missing. And you're right. It was the mind, the spirit element. We're not just a body and a brain. There's something else beyond that. And like you say, it's kind of like, you know, I used to just shy away from that conversation. It's like, talk about God. No, I'm not interested. Don't believe it. And it, you know, for some people that is their entry point. That's what they understand, what language they understand. But for me, it's much more noticing, you know, that there's an intelligence greater than us that we can tap into, that is us, that is underneath all of that busy noise, underneath, you know, before all of that. But that for me has been, you know, the more that we look to see if that's true, that we're not in control of everything, that there's things that happen to us that we don't have control of, like digestion or our heart beating, or, you know, I don't know how to do those things. When I'm working with kids, I'm always like, do you know how to digest your food? And they're like, no. It's like, nor do I. If I had to digest my food, we'd be in trouble because I have no idea. And it's that, you know, like looking to see what is it knows to do that.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking that when you were talking that before. Why have we overlooked that? It's curious, isn't it? Because we know we're not beating our hearts. We know we're not doing the digestion. We know there's obviously something greater. So there's a greater intelligence that's making all this happen for every single creature on the planet, including all the animals, and you know, it's not just human beings, is it? It's like, what makes the tides go in and out? What it's okay, we could say it's the moon. So what makes the, you know, so it's that deeper intelligence that's running the whole system. And there's so little curiosity about that, and so even an acceptance on some level that even when we go to the doctors for an acute, you know, if you break your bone, they set it, they'll put it, set it, but they don't do the healing.
No.
The doctors don't do the healing. They'll give us a painkiller and they'll put a plaster on. But the intelligence behind life is going to heal that, knit that bone together and heal it perfectly in most cases. It's amazing. I mean, it's absolutely, it's miraculous. It really is when you really stop and think about it. That could be broken, you know, completely broken into two, but within a few weeks it can be knitted back together again, and we didn't do it. It's like I didn't have to think about it all the time and make it happen. It's just happening. And yet when we come up against other things that happen to us, like we've been talking about, is chronic, I feel like I've got to take control, and I've got to make things happen. But I guess all, you know, talking about a broken bone, if I, you know, so I put it in the right position and it heals. Maybe with a chronic illness, it really is. It's about just giving it the best conditions possible, which would be, for me, in my mind, for my, you know, my common sense is be as clean and eater as possible. You know, give it a nice clean, give your body a nice clean environment, lots of, you know, plenty of sleep and the right and exercise, and giving right, and let the body will do the rest. The intelligence behind life will do the rest. But the interference is crappy food, lack of sleep, not moving the body, which is made to move. It's just staying within the commonsensical, I suppose, parameters without being overzealous about anything. Just really using common sense, which is the guidance system, right? When we listen to it, instead of getting our knickers in a twist about all the things that we might need to do and we should do, and what we've heard that person say and this person say. And that's what happened to me. Definitely, I've listened to too many experts, and they're all saying similar but different. Do I need to put a light on?
No, it's okay.
Okay. They're all saying similar ways that, you know, you hear lots of similarities but different. And it's like, how come there isn't just one way to get healed from Crohn's, for example? You know, why is there just not one way? And that should set some alarm bells off as well, really. You know, it's like, well, if everybody's, you know, lots of people are pointing in different directions, doesn't that mean there's more than one way to heal, or they've all got it wrong? Or maybe, just maybe, they listened to their own wisdom and did it that way, and now because they've healed that way, this is the way to do it. You know, this is the way this is the way I did it. And of course I was looking for that. I want to hear, how did you do it? Without recognizing, actually, I can do exactly what they did. I can listen in. I can get quiet and just see what makes sense to me. And also, you know, I don't think it hurts to go around and have a look out there what has worked and what might work, and try and understand maybe the science of the body, biology, how things work, and then take a step back, get quiet, and so out of all the things that I've learned, what makes sense for me? You know, versus having to follow something very, very strictly because it worked for somebody else. Because I've been a bit of a, use not a nice word, but I've been easily led down that road of, this is what worked for her and this is what you must do, and you mustn't stray from this path whatsoever, because it will fail if you do that. And you mustn't have one little bit of gluten, because if you do, you've got to start all the way over, you know, you're 6 weeks back. That sort of thing is very constricting.
And it's very stressful.
And of course it makes a very busy, oh my God, I've done it wrong, it's my fault, I didn't read the label properly, and blah, 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 blah. And now I've got to go back to square one. And that's just revving the whole system up, which is, you know, brings on the stress of the body. Brings on chronic stress of the body. And of course it becomes true, because now we're worrying about it. now I'm worrying about it and beating myself up about it. And that was a big thing as well. I totally felt responsible for the physical, and it's like, because there is a lot of teaching out there that says that whatever you're thinking and the chronic stress, I'm creating it clearly, so it's my fault.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And that is a heavy burden to bear. That's a really heavy burden to bear. And I can still fall into that too. You can say, oh, well, well, if I hadn't have done that, if I didn't drink that, if I didn't eat that, my fault, obviously. Yeah.
Oh, and that, and all of that, like you say, is just mental noise that
Mental noise.
basically, if people can consider the fact that our thoughts, our body is absolutely related to our thoughts. So our body responds beautifully to whatever's going through our minds. Whatever thoughts we're having, our body will respond. So, if we're having fearful thoughts, or we're having thoughts that we shouldn't have done something, or we should be better, or whatever, like, our body's going to feel that. And we can all have those thoughts. We can make ourselves go there, and we will feel that in our bodies. We'll feel that restriction, that tension, that closing down. And I think the invitation is to, because I used to think that meant I needed to do something about those thoughts, like that it was really important, because I could feel how important it was. And you and I both now know that feeling of tension, that feeling of tightness, is our body telling us that we are going in the wrong direction, that we're getting caught up in that crazy mental headspace that's adding to the symptoms, because our brain knows no different from an actual threat and a thought, a threat of a thoughtful, no, what am I trying
a thought created situation,
exactly.
Versus a real tiger in the room situation.
Our body's not clever, our mind is not clever enough to know the difference. So the same chemicals will be triggered. That if you saw a tiger, and if you thought about something you're scared of, it will have the same in your body. And that fight or flight, that constant living in fight or flight, is going to aggravate any inflammatory issues, which I suffer from too. And like, going back to what you said, like, it's not then to say, oh my gosh, it's all my fault, I'm doing this to myself. But just to understand that, we don't have to take that thinking seriously. We can have those thoughts, and we can feel that in our body, and we can take those feelings as the love letters, as the warning signs. And that's our wake up. That's then our opportunity to notice what's happening and to step back out.
Yeah, beautifully said. I think it's really important to stress that piece of, like, the innocence of falling into thinking it's my fault and I've caused this, and because I, again, the food, or the didn't get enough sleep, or I drank too much alcohol, or it's life, right? We're a human being, and we're living life, and it's not about restricting ourselves to the point of misery. I mean, there's no point, is there? We're here to enjoy life, so it's about enjoying food and relaxing around, just relaxing around it and enjoying it. Else it just doesn't make sense to be here. But no guilt, no it's okay to go off your diet plan for a day or two. You can get back on it, but and that always boils down to listening. It boils down to, well, okay, I might have that piece of toast today, or that croissant. I might have a croissant today, and tomorrow I won't have another one. It's, let's see what happens.
Who knows?
Let's just, but you see, to me, it just what came to me was about being playful with it as well, isn't it? Like, children are our greatest teachers, aren't they? They don't worry about what they eat. And there's been that study or experiment study, I don't know, I imagine you've heard about it, when I can't remember what age group they were, 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds, and you can put an array of food out for them every single day for that. They did this study, put an array from the worst, what we would deem full of sugar food, to the healthiest of the fruit and veg, put it all out for day after day after day, and intuitively they'll balance themselves out. I mean, they might go for all the sugar at first,
Yeah.
but over the days, they just balance themselves out, because they're not saying, oh, I mustn't eat the sugar, I mustn't eat the sweets, I mustn't have the croissants or the cream cakes or whatever there is in front of them. They're just going for what they want, and then it's like, oh, the next day I need loads of water, and the next day I want lots of apples, and the next day I want whatever, because they're just following what makes sense to them and not what they should be eating, and what they've learnt's bad for them.
Exactly.
It's all this information, and what we call education can tie us up in knots, can't it? It really can tie us up in knots. And so listening in and going, okay, what does my body fancy? Not listening to what should be happening, what I should be eating and what I shouldn't be having. I found myself yesterday Christmas shopping with one of my eldest daughter is actually a nutritionist. So it was great to go shopping. We were shopping for the food, some of the food for Christmas, and I don't drink alcohol anymore. It's just I stopped because of the Crohn's, and now, having not drunk for ages, I'm not interested particularly. But we were yesterday in a supermarket that I very rarely go to, that's got a big selection of gluten-free products, because I tend to be gluten-free, and I saw the beer and I was like, there's quite some new gluten-free beers out I've never heard of. So I'm looking at them, and I'm talking to my, asking Steph, my daughter, to read out the ingredients. And it was hardly it's water and this and that and something else. And I said, well, that's not bad, is it? And she went, no, not really. I said, do you know what? I'm going to buy a couple of those and enjoy those over Christmas. So it's like, it was like, I'm just buying them. I just fancy those. And who knows? They're in my fridge now. I might drink them. I might not, but I'm not. They're available to me if I want them. That was the point. I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to take them home and see what happens. You never know. I didn't fancy one last night, so they're still there. I fancy one later. But it's playing.
Yeah, it's light, isn't it? It's light. That's what came talking. There's a lightness to that. Of, well, maybe I'll fancy that. Maybe I won't. But if I then why not have it? But there's that intuition that you were talking about, that the children just know what to eat. We were all born with that. It never went in. We can get back to that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really hopeful thing. And there's no regime, there's no protocol, it's individual, as you were pointing to. There's so many different routes people have taken and had success with, however you do it. But to try and follow somebody else's protocol is always going to be a struggle. When we can turn in to ourselves and just ask, what do I feel like you said, what does my body need to do? What do I feel like now? With no judgment to the answer. If it's a chocolate bar, to not then go into the head, I don't want that because this is going to do that, that's going to happen, and this, but just, okay. So much lightness, like you say, to be playful and to not take things so seriously. For me, has been a massive benefit.
And I think I'm just going to switch the light, because I do feel like I'm still in the dark. See if that works. That should be better. Something that occurred to me when you were talking is, what we haven't addressed is the idea, because this is something that I get caught out on still, but very much did, is that I needed to be better to be okay.
Oh, yes.
I needed to not be in physical discomfort, pain, seriously ill, to be okay, to relax and experience peace of mind, because peace of mind is always a top value for me, always has been. I think, but for when most people look and go in that direction, I think peace of mind is what most people are really after. Sometimes people talk about it in terms of happiness or joy or relaxation, but it's, you know, for me it's a feeling of peace of mind. And it's like, well, I can't relax, I can't be at peace while I've got these physical symptoms. I have to get rid of all this and then I can be okay.
Yes.
And it doesn't work that way.
Oh.
And this is the thing, isn't it? We're all, as human beings, when you distill it down, what I find is most people are looking for a feeling. They're just looking. Doesn't matter what it looks like we want to achieve. It's all about a feeling. And so we've got it backwards, because the feeling comes first and the other things fall into place, generally speaking. And we're here to enjoy life. We're here to have it. You know, as far as I can tell right now, what it looks like to me is we're here to enjoy life.
Yeah.
And so that enjoyment comes first, and then other things fall into place. And it doesn't mean that you're going to have a spontaneous healing. I mean, there's plenty of spiritual teachers that have, we're all going to die of something. But there's plenty of spiritual teachers that have, you know, died of cancer or some other long-term illness. And that doesn't mean, it's not a measure of our spiritual understanding. Our physical isn't. I remember I heard Linda Pettit say that. I loved it. Where it was such a relief to hear that. Like, because I think on some level I'd been seeing as well when I'm, you know, when I've got a good spiritual understanding, then my physical will fall, you know, the physical symptoms will fall away. And so it's that there's another real like false getting on the hamster wheel, right? Of like, oh no, it's not the diet, and it's not the nutrition, and it's not the physical exercise, and it's not the supplements, and it's no, actually I need to spiritually get more spiritually aligned with the truth, and then my physical symptoms will go away. Well, that's a misconception too, as far as I can, a misunderstanding, as far as I can tell. That was a misunderstanding that I had, for sure. So it's helpful to understand, oh well, yes, really good to spiritually heal, or to look in the direction of the formless, the spiritual, the intelligence behind life, who we really are, true nature, all those words that point to, I don't know, the truth, I guess. That's the richness of life for me. That's the richest piece of life. And then what happens after that? Well, because our bodies are spiritual, you know, everything's form and formless. It's all spiritual. Can't not be. It's all the same energy, so it has to be. So this being, I don't know, it's just a beingness.
Yeah, I love that.
Everything's right. Everything's right with the world. So whatever's happening, we're just right. It's just right with the world.
Yeah, in this moment, it's like in this moment, am I okay? Yes, I'm okay. And that moment to moment, that takes away the pressure of having to seek something else. I love, you know, what you were saying about, for me, that whole idea of when I have no symptoms, when I sleep well, when I don't get eczema anymore, when I this, when I that, I'll be okay. It's so, for me, that was one of the greatest things I saw, was that there's never an end to that. It's like when I make 20,000, 30,000, a million, whatever it is, then I'll be able to enjoy life. And then you get to that, and you might be happy for a while, and then you're looking for the next thing. Or you buy a new dress. Oh, this makes me feel really great. I'm really, I'm okay now. And then you're like, oh no, actually that dress is really much nicer. I wish I bought that one. Now I want that one. And there's never an end to that. And it's the same, like when we fall into that trap of when I get rid of my symptoms, then I'll be okay. There's never an end to that.
No.
Seeing that the truth behind that.
Mm.
In this moment, you're actually okay,
Yeah.
but for the thinking that you're not.
Yeah. And you know, I think somewhere along, I don't know how it happened, but somewhere along the way, I don't know, I created a belief that the body, like, I can only be okay if my physical body is okay, and and that's that's a never. I mean, that'll never happen, right? Because there's always something happening in the physical body, whether it's a discomfort or a pain or a change. You know, there's a cold. Or, you know, it's the simplest of maladies, if you like. But if I became very vigilant for symptoms, very vigilant for making sure my physical body was okay. And maybe because from a young age I wasn't. I don't know how it happened, but it did. And then and not realizing that it literally is a never ending story. It's a never ending story. And if I'm spending most of my life looking at this never ending trying to be okay, well, the rest of life's just passing me by and I'm not enjoying the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm just focused on being well. What about the rest the rest of this wonderful life that we've been given to go out and enjoy, you know? So that's been, I mean, that's a big piece, and it's very common, because I've been in lots of groups and around lots of people and talked about it a lot with people with chronic illness. It's quite common that it feels like it dictates your life, because in some level you're allowing it innocently to take over your whole life, you know, whether it's an eating thing and of course for some people it is very debilitating. It's very, very debilitating. I'm not trying to belittle that, because I absolutely know how it feels. And I also know now that the experience of it doesn't have to be all encompassing and absolutely, I don't know, all encompassing, really.
Yeah.
Like it's like being under a black cloud that follows you everywhere. It doesn't have to be like that, you know. The sunshine's always there, and you can step out from under the black cloud and actually feel the sun on your skin.
Yeah.
And enjoy, even though there are things happening in a physical body. It's absolutely possible to be okay with it and enjoy life at the same time. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I think that's like the beautiful place to end, because it's so true. You don't have to be burdened by that thing, that there's more to see.
Yeah.
Oh, Sheila, thank you so much for
Oh, it's
coming.
been a lovely. I mean, really, really great. Yeah, it's a fascinating conversation, because it's just so much more to see, isn't there?
Yeah,
And
always.
explore and understand. And just, I'm grateful to be in a position of actually seeing that our experience isn't created by because of a physical because of our physical disability, disease, or whatever the physical's in. It's not attached to how I feel mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really big thing.
Yeah, too.
So
Sheila,
thank you for inviting me.
it was been absolutely lovely. And if people want to find you, how can they find you and connect with you and all that kind of jazz?
Well, I have a website, which is my name, which is Sheela Masand, Masand. Well, it's Sheela, sheelamasand.com, which talks about me being a business coach mainly there. But I'm absolutely open to talking to people about health, because it's been such a, and still is, you know, a big part of my life, and just really love to help people see. I think that, you know, you calling these hopeful conversations really is about helping people see that it's hopeful. You know, we don't have to be burdened, as we've just said. We don't have to live in a state of chronic anxiety about illness, and there is hope for us to get well, even when the doctors say there isn't. There is.
Yeah, and that, I think as well, that people have their own. They know themselves what they need, and I guess our job as a coach is to point people back to that, to reconnect.
Absolutely, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
our job to tell people what they should do, but
No.
to gently guide them back to what they actually know. And I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah, Yeah, and help people to keep reminding people about their inner guidance. You know, we've got this natural GPS system that's working beautifully for us. And I mean, I need reminding of that often when I'm in my darkest time. I'm all encompassed by the feeling, to have somebody remind me, you can just stop thinking like that, or don't think that for a bit and see what happens and relax. And sometimes we just had a conversation with another colleague coach last night, and she was in quite a lot of pain in her back, and that came up. It's like, could it be that there's a lot of heaviness? Could it be that it was like, oh yeah, we need reminding.
Yeah, we do.
About helping each other, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being supportive.
Well, I will put all of the details below the video so people can get in touch with you.
Right.
Thank you so much for coming along, and I will.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Sheela.
All right, take care. Bye.